The key to successful New Year's resolutions is not in what you decide you want to do. It is in creating a framework, a structure that is impenetrable, a framework and a structure that will not collapse and fail. And that must include lifestyle changes. Not just temporary short-term goals, but lifestyle changes, sustainable changes over a long period of time. Welcome to First Responder Fitness with Carl Wimmer, where armor is forged through mental, spiritual, and physical preparation. Welcome to First Responder Fitness with Carl Wimmer, my friends. I am so excited that you have joined me for this first ever First Responder Fitness YouTube premiere. We are really excited that you're joining us, and just encourage you to continue to stick with us through the new year. Many of you may be asking, why in the heck are we running a YouTube premiere? We haven't done that before, and this is new to us. But the fact is, we were looking at the content of this particular episode, and, well, there's no other way to put it. This could be one of the most important episodes we've ever recorded. This episode could change your life. This episode, depending on your health conditions, could save your life. And most certainly, if you adopt what we talk about today into your life, most certainly it'll give you a longer, healthier, more prosperous life. Those facts, in addition to the reality that we are really just days away from a new year, made us decide we should hold a YouTube premiere for our First Responder Fitness family and bring this content that we are so excited to have poured so much time and effort into putting this together for you. We're just so excited about this episode and what it means for you and what it means for all of us here at First Responder Fitness. With the new year upon us, we thought that we were going to do an episode that talks about resetting ourselves and looking forward to setting goals and perhaps resolutions for the upcoming year. Are you one of those people that makes New Year's resolutions? About 50% of you that are watching this would be. Some of you are not. I am. I have always, whether I write them down and make them a reality or put them in my phone or what have you, I've always been someone who really focuses on New Year's resolutions. I just enjoy that. I enjoy trying to keep them. I enjoy focusing on them. I've passed it on to my kids. My kids are quite proficient at setting and keeping New Year's resolutions. In fact, my daughter, she'll make pages of New Year's resolutions, maybe 30 different resolutions in different aspects of her life. And by the end of the year, she's accomplished 15 or 20 different new things that year. How cool is that? I mean, how many of us can say that we learned or did or accomplished 15 or 20 things that we set out to accomplish in a single year? I think that's awesome. You stick with us throughout this program and throughout the following year. You will be able to stand here 1 year from today, looking back at 2025, and you will have accomplished dozens of things, many, many things in your life. But not everyone sets New Year's resolutions. Like I said, about 50% of the world population does so. And there's a lot of different reasons people don't. But one of the primary reasons people do not set New Year's resolutions is because they have grown, callous or jaded over the years. They used to set them, They used to get real excited. Maybe when they're a little more starry-eyed, a little bit more innocent. They thought they looked at the world a little bit with more innocent eyes, and they thought, I can still conquer the world. I can be whatever I want to be. And they would set these New Year's resolutions, and they'd have the best of intentions. But over the years, you kind of get tired of letting yourself down. Over the years, you kind of get tired of deceiving yourself, lying to yourself, or disappointing yourself. That's serious. And I get it. Oh man, I get it. And so eventually a lot of people stop making New Year's resolutions, or maybe you just don't like doing it, period. Whatever the case may be is fine with me. But I kind of want to peel back and talk about this for just a second, because it is a concern. So many people set New Year's resolutions. Of all the people who set New Year's resolutions, about half the population, they are so motivated at first, and they're so ready to go conquer the world. New year, new you, right? You hear that all the time. New year, new you. New year, new me. This is my year, 2025. I got this year. I'm going to conquer it. I'm going to dominate. This is my time, right? I love the hype. I love the motivation. It's great. But by the second week of February, the second week of February, 80% of New Year's resolutions have failed. Wow. 80%. 80% of people who made a promise to themselves, who made a commitment to themselves, couldn't keep the commitment to themselves. Is it any wonder that New Year's resolutions are becoming less and less popular? We don't like it when other people don't keep their commitments to us. And psychologically, we hate it when we can't keep them to ourselves. That's going to change. That is going to change. I promise you that if you follow the steps that I'm going to outline in this episode, you will have a new outlook on New Year's resolutions, and you'll have a new outlook on whether you can or can't accomplish your goals. Specifically talking about holistic physical health. That's what we're going to be focusing on today. I don't care how many times you have failed at your resolutions. I don't care if you're one of the people who has never, ever kept a commitment to yourself. You will be able to after this. This is a simple, easy to follow program that I'm about to lay out, and I'm so excited to do so. But I want to just show the problem a little bit more, and then we're going to offer the solution. The problem gets even worse for those of you that traditionally set New Year's resolutions. You know, by June of every year, by June, those who have set New Year's resolutions, 92% of you have failed. Only 8% of the entire population of New Year's resolution makers are still in it to win it by June. And so I don't do this to mock people at all. I do it kind of as a social experiment of sorts, but every June or July, I will post on Facebook or Instagram or any of the social media platforms. I'll say, hey, everybody, how are those New Year's resolutions coming along? And I'll get a ton of laugh emojis and just people laughing because they hadn't thought of them in months. They haven't thought of what they committed to do in months. And every once in a while, I'll get somebody say, it's going good. It's going good. I got off track a little bit, but I'm refocused. I am laser focused. It's going good. And I love those. That just makes me so happy. But at the end of the day, New Year's resolutions fail. And they fail for a lot of different reasons. But the primary reason New Year's resolutions fail is because they are oftentimes too short focused. They're too short term. You want something that is so short term that if you don't get it in the short term, you forget about it. Like, I'm going to lose 10 pounds in 4 weeks. All right. And you're motivated for about 3 days. And then the ever beckoning call of Twinkie the Kid gets you. Or the convenience of stopping and ordering a pizza rather than going home and making a healthful dinner gets you. The convenience of eating highly processed cereals and breakfast foods, or highly processed whatever TV dinners, the conveniences of life outweigh your motivation and your desire because your goals are not big enough. But then sometimes you make these goals that are so big and so broad that it's impossible to measure. Of those who make resolutions, more than half of you are making resolutions that say, I want to lose weight and get in shape. And in fact, that's the terms that they use. That's the terms that you use. I hear you use them. I want to lose weight and get in shape. What does that even mean? What does that mean? How do you quantify that? And so sometimes they're just so overly broad that you really don't know how to measure success. And sometimes they're so short term that it has no lasting effect. Even if you do lose your 10 pounds in 4 weeks, what happens after the 4 weeks? Do you gain that 10 pounds back? Do you gain that 10 pounds back plus another 20 or 30? And then by the time summer comes, you look like a melting wax figure in the sun. I mean, what does that do? These short-term goals. It's tough and it's hard. And that's why we fail. The key to successful New Year's resolutions is not in what you decide you want to do. It is in creating a framework, a structure that is impenetrable, a framework and a structure that will not collapse and fail. And that must include lifestyle changes. Not just temporary short-term goals, but lifestyle changes, sustainable changes over a long period of time. And I know you're sitting here thinking, I don't want to change my lifestyle. I like my lifestyle. Do you really? Let's be honest. Maybe you do. But let's just talk about this for just a second, because, believe it or not, you are living a lifestyle. You are doing everything that we are going to discuss about habit stacking. We're going to talk about habit stacking. We're going to talk about tiering and prioritizing different goals. You do that now. You have habits now. You have a lifestyle now. Unfortunately, for many of us, that lifestyle of years and years and years, the lifestyle we've been following for almost our entire adult life, has been one that has ended up giving us the results we have now, which for many of us is a lack of health, metabolic disease, diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, heart disease, all of these things that we don't want. Sickness, things we don't want. You're getting the results of the lifestyle you're living. And so what we want to do is we want to change your paradigm. Stop focusing on little itty bitty goals. Stop focusing on goals that you can't quantify. Stop focusing on goals that you cannot measure. Stop focusing on the short term. And let's build a framework, a structure that will get you laser focused, I would say, like a bullet. As you know, we here at First Responder Fitness, we really tend to push our information out to the first responders, law enforcement officers, of which I am retired. I'm retired SWAT team commander, retired detective, retired law enforcement officer, and firefighters. It seems I have 2 boys that are heading down the road to become firefighters. And so our focus here at First Responder Fitness is for law enforcement and firefighters, but it's for anyone. This information is for anyone who's interested in fitness. But if you're in law enforcement, or if you have done any shooting at all, you are familiar with a target with a bullseye, and then a ring, and then another ring, and these outside rings. And if you go shooting for the first time, when you start shooting, sometimes you're hitting outside these rings, and you're hitting on the outer rings, and you're nowhere near the bullseye. And I liken that to most of you and your New Year's resolutions. You have this idea, but you're shooting all over the target. You do not have laser focus. You don't have a scope, a high-powered scope to just knock out that bullseye. I want to create this fitness target for you. A fitness framework in the shape of a target. That's how you're going to picture it. And that's what we're going to set up. We're going to put up a graphic here as we go along to help you understand this concept. The bullseye in any target is the highest goal. And in our case, our bullseye is a long-term fitness goal. It is not a New Year's resolution. As a matter of fact, it would not even be considered a new decade resolution. When we're looking at our fitness target, I want you to think of the bullseye as 2 things, and 2 things only: longevity and fitness. Longevity and fitness. You can even replace the term fitness with health. Just consider I'm using those interchangeably. I'm considering fitness to be holistic, like mental fitness and physical fitness. Longevity and fitness is the bullseye of our fitness target framework. And that bullseye is something that we need to keep at the forefront of our minds throughout our life. Because what is our goal? What is the ultimate goal? I hope your ultimate goal is a long, healthy, prosperous life. As we turn the page into 2025, I am going to be in the year of which I turned 50. I turned 50 in 2025. And I look ahead, and first of all, that blows my mind. I cannot believe it, that I'm turning 50. But I'm also excited because I am as healthy and as full of vigor and energy as I have ever been. And I look 20 years down the road, 30 years down the road, and I say, what do I want my life to be like? And I think, you know what? I want my life to be a lot like it is now. Maybe with a little bit more money, maybe with a little bit more time, but I want it to be largely the same. I still want to travel. I love traveling. I love to travel with my family and with my wife. I like that. I like to see new cultures and new things. I love to snorkel and be in the ocean and at the beach. I love to do those things. I want to keep doing those. I want in 20, 30 years, I want to be able to go to my grandkids and great grandkids' games. Maybe even coach them, train them. I want to take them to the park and play with them, not just sit on the bench while they're swinging back and forth, but to be up there on the monkey bars with them. Can you picture that? How many times have you seen an 80-year-old man hanging from the monkey bars with their great grandkids or their grandkids? You know what? It should happen a lot more. That's what I picture. That's what I want to do. I want to have a thriving, healthful life. I want to continue to have a thriving, passionate sex life. I want to continue to enjoy the things I enjoy now. How are we going to do that? With the target the bullseye of the target being longevity and fitness. See, longevity is the goal, to live a long life, but it's not just about how long you live. It's about having a life of energy and vitality, avoiding preventable diseases, aging gracefully. It's about sustaining a lifestyle that supports your well-being for the long haul. All of us probably knows someone who lived a long time, but didn't live it well. And what I mean by that is this. The best example I can give you is my precious mother. God rest her soul. She lived a long life, well into her 80s. But the last 15 or 20 years of her life was really, I wouldn't consider it even living. She was unhealthy. She was not active. She didn't go visit grandkids. She didn't get involved in things. I do think that the last thing I remember her doing was coming to my daughter's, my daughter is a track star, an athlete, and was a multi-state champion in sprinting. But when she was a teeny little kid and she was just starting out in track, I do remember my mother coming to one of her meets. But that was the last thing. It was right at the end of her moving into what she would then do for the next 15 years, and that is never leave the house. Go from her bed to the chair in the living room, from the chair to the bed. That's not living. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not the bullseye. That's not longevity that I'm talking about. I'm talking about living life until they put you in the pine box. I'm talking about being active and involved and doing what you want to do. The second part of that bullseye is fitness or health. Fitness. Long-term fitness isn't just about working out and being a musclehead. It's about overall health, including physical fitness, mental clarity, mental fitness, emotional well-being, stress management. All of those things go into fitness. So longevity and fitness for the rest of your life is the bullseye. And can you see, that's not a New Year's resolution. That is what you want to focus on for the rest of your life. You need to be able to do those things. In order to hit the bullseye, you've got to prioritize your overall health and your fitness as a lifelong journey, of course. You got to think of fitness as a holistic thing, of course, and not just weight loss or appearance, but it's about mental and physical well-being working together. You need to focus on, your health as a consistent part of your life, of course, through daily movement and balanced nutrition. But all of that aside, I don't want to get out into the weeds yet. I want to focus. Longevity and fitness is the bullseye. But as anyone who starts off shooting, you're not just going to hit the bullseye first time you go shooting. You're going to be hitting the rings around the bullseye. And so we need to focus in. So if we take from the bullseye and we move out to the first ring, ring number one, that first ring, there are things within that ring that we need to focus our attention on. But again, none of these would be New Year's resolutions according to this framework and structure. Yet, as I go through this little list, you will see that, that sounds a little bit like a resolution I may have set last year, or I may have set when I was younger. It's too early, too quick, too soon. Let's talk about it. These items in the first ring are so important. To achieve the bullseye, longevity, and fitness, we need to address everything in the first ring. Everything that affects our mortality rate, the quality of our life. Inside this ring, this first ring, is combating metabolic syndrome, which we'll talk more about that. We'll identify that for you. building muscle, and increasing your aerobic capacity, as well as maintaining a strong mental health. 4 things inside of this first ring: combating metabolic syndrome, building muscle, increasing aerobic capacity, and maintaining a strong mental health. You may have set a New Year's resolution saying, I'm going to build muscle this year. You see, that's in that ring. That's one of the items in this ring. But there's other rings to this target. And if you want to hit the bullseye, you can't just jump from one ring to the next. You have to do it in an orderly, structured manner. Let's first talk about metabolic syndrome. You will never hit the bullseye of longevity and fitness if you have metabolic syndrome. What is metabolic syndrome? I'm not a doctor, so I'm going to give you the layman's term. I'm going to give you the basics behind metabolic syndrome. It is a catch-all term to describe an unhealthy person who has high blood pressure, who is insulin resistant, on their way to diabetes, type 2 diabetes, perhaps even full-blown type 2 diabetes. Someone who has high lipid cholesterol. Their lipids are all out of whack. Someone who is obese, or someone who has what is called NAFLD, non-alcohol fatty liver disease. All of those things contribute to what we call metabolic syndrome. All of those things will eventually kill you. All of them lead to a shorter life, a less prosperous life. They lead to more pain, more suffering, more inability to live the life you want to live in the long term. If you have metabolic syndrome or any of the symptoms of metabolic syndrome, it will stop you from hitting the bullseye of longevity and long lifetime fitness. The long vision, the bullseye. If you think about this, these do make up wonderful, wonderful New Year's resolutions in and of themselves. But I don't recommend right now, right off the top of your head, picking one of those and going after it, because you'll likely fail. You'll end up being the 92% that has failed by June, or the 80% that has failed by the second week of February. We need to have a structure, and we need to move slowly, building what we it's what we call habit stacking. And we're going to get into that in just a bit. You've heard me say that before. You've heard this term. We're going to show you exactly what we mean in just a minute. But, you know, some of these things would be fantastic resolutions. For instance, if you have type 2 diabetes, can you imagine? I dare you to name for me a better goal than to get yourself so fit that you no longer need to be on insulin or diabetic medication. Now, I am not a doctor. No one at First Responder Fitness is a doctor. So we're not telling you to get off your type 2 diabetes medication. I'm not telling you to get off any medications. I'm telling you flat out, listen to your doctor. But what an amazing goal. I'm telling you right now, if I had high blood pressure, which it will kill you, if you do not manage high blood pressure, you will eventually have a heart attack or a stroke. Period. Understand that. Listen to me. If you have high blood pressure and it is not managed, you will have a heart attack or a stroke eventually. Your veins, your arteries, they cannot take that pressure for long periods of time without being damaged. And then all it takes is for one of those to burst, or one of those to balloon up, and you're in trouble. Stroke City. Not good. Not good at all. So How amazing would it be to set as a year's goal? Maybe it takes longer than a year, but to set as a midterm, mid-length, moderate-length goal to get yourself so fit, so healthy that your doctor says, wow, Mr. Jones, Mr. Smith, Mr. Wimmer, you no longer need diabetic medication. You no longer need your CPAP machine because you've lost so much weight. You don't even have sleep apnea anymore. You, sir, don't need your high blood pressure medication. Wow. Do you know how awesome that would be? You no longer need cholesterol medication because your lipids are great. Your lipids are perfect. But that takes time. You didn't get where you are quickly. But see, that's the thing is we want these. That's one of the problems with New Year's resolutions. I want to lose weight, get in shape. Okay, perfect. Let's lose weight and get in shape. But you understand that you're 120 pounds overweight. You're 90 pounds overweight. You're 50 pounds. You're 30 pounds. You did not get obese. You did not get to the point where you have type 2 diabetes. You didn't get to the point where you have high blood pressure overnight. It was a series of lifestyle. There's that word, lifestyle choices, lifestyle decisions that you have gotten into. You have stacked habits that have led to where you are now. If you don't start unstacking the bad habits and stacking good habits, you're never going to change. But then people say, well, I want to do it quickly. Well, you're not going to be able to do it quickly because it didn't happen quickly. You didn't put on 60 pounds of body fat, visceral fat, and belly fat overnight. It took years. It's going to take a while. It may take a while for you to lose it. And so people, they're really motivated in the first week of January, and they're motivated, and then the motivation tanks because they're not seeing the progress they want to see. And it starts to get painful and frustrating and discouraging. I get it. I'm with you on that. I am with you on that. That's why we're doing this. That's why I want you to watch this all the way through and then watch it all the way through again. Yes, it gets discouraging because your motivation runs out, and your motivation runs out, and then what happens after your motivation is gone? You got a Twinkie, you got a salad, you got a Big Mac and greasy fries, or you have a lean cut of beef or a lean cut of chicken breast for the 100,000th time. What you picking? Your motivation's gone. So now what do we rely on? Well, I've told you before, as nearly a 50-year-old man who's been involved in different sports, as a former boxer, combat sports guy, as a 3-time world powerlifting champion. I've been involved in athletics of some sort most of my life. And I tell people all the time, man, I have not relied on motivation in years, if not decades. I rely on discipline. Discipline. Do you see the difference? Motivation is like cotton candy, sugar, excitement, yay. You can compare it to when you fall in love. When you fall in love, you feel all Twitter-pated, excited, this and that, butterflies. You just can't think of anything but the person you're falling in love with. 25 years later, you still love that person more than ever before, but it's not the same feeling. It's actually a better feeling, to be honest with you, but it's not the same. But you've disciplined yourself over those years. It's the same thing. When you start off with a New Year's resolution, you're so motivated, you're so excited. Yay, new year, new me. New year, new you. That goes away. And if you haven't disciplined yourself, you're now going to cheat on yourself. You're going to cheat on that resolution. You're going to cheat on that resolution with whatever your mistress of choice is, whether it be jelly-filled donuts, Twinkies, Ho-Hos, greasy pizza, whatever, you're going to cheat on your resolution because you're not disciplined. You're relying on motivation. We got to change that entire paradigm. We got to change that entire thing. We've got to stop killing ourselves. So that was a huge soapbox talking about metabolic syndrome. Within this first circle, encircling the bullseye, you have other things besides metabolic syndrome, fighting metabolic syndrome. You have building muscle. Building muscle is not a short-term thing. It takes a long time to build muscle. But increasing your muscle mass will help you hit the bullseye. You need a large amount of muscle mass going into old age, because when you age, you start losing muscle and bone density. You lose muscle density, especially you women. You lose muscle mass, okay? But building muscle mass will help you manage metabolic syndrome by improving your metabolism and supporting fat loss. It'll keep you strong. It'll keep you virile and energetic. Think about the 75, 80-year-old who steps off the curb and falls and breaks their hip. If you listen to Dr. Peter Attia, who talks about this a lot, your risk of death, if you're over a certain age, over the age of 60 even, of falls and dying, if you break your hip, your risk of death in the next year is out of this world, off the charts. Understand this. If you're older and you've not built up muscle so that when you step off the curb, your leg can stop and control and you do it safely, you fall and break your hip, you are at risk of dying. Very high risk of dying. So building muscle is critical to hitting the bullseye of longevity and fitness. If you ever want to reach longevity with fitness, you must build muscle now. Building muscle helps combat metabolic syndrome. It helps combat diabetes because muscle uses up, it keeps you insulin sensitive. Insulin sensitivity almost always happens in someone who is low in body muscle and high in body fat. If you were to reverse those two things, your insulin sensitivity improves and your risk of diabetes goes way, way down. So we have within this circle surrounding the bullseye, controlling metabolic syndrome and all of the things that means. Remember, obesity, insulin resistance, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, NAFLD, other related issues. Okay. We also have building muscle in that circle, in that first ring. Also in that ring is increasing your aerobic capacity. Enhancing your cardiovascular fitness helps support overall metabolic health. It improves blood flow. It reduces stress and increases energy levels. I've already talked to you about how your level of VO2 max is one of the most critical, most urgent, most important metrics when it comes to how long you will live and how the quality of that life in your old age. Having a high VO2 max lengthens your life and improves the quality of your life. I've done an entire episode on VO2 max. Go back and watch it. Watch the episode on VO2 max. Watch the episodes on how to build muscle. Watch and learn. But increasing your aerobic capacity is critical. At this age, over the long term, it's critical for your entire life if you ever want to obtain longevity and fitness. So that's also in the ring. Finally, the fourth thing in the first ring around the bullseye is supporting your mental health. Supporting your mental health. Because, well, especially for us in first responder community, law enforcement, firefighters, suicide is real. Mental depression, mental health, depression, anxiety, those things are real. And they're causing severe medical issues in our community. More law enforcement officers take their own life every year than ever die from a violent encounter. That's tragic. That needs to not be the case. So if you ever want to reach longevity with fitness, longevity with health, if you ever want to hit the bullseye, you've got to have mental health. Mental health it's just essential for your overall well-being. Stress, depression, anxiety can interfere with your physical progress as well. It affects your hormone balance. It affects weight management, because I don't know about you, but one of the things that humans do is when they're stressed, we medicate. You ever notice that? We medicate. So now, some people are on antidepressant medication, but each one of us have a type of medicating ourselves when we're stressed or depressed or angry. Some people, well, they'll take their antidepressant medication. Some people will turn to alcohol. They'll medicate with alcohol or other recreational drugs. Some people will medicate with maybe pornography. They'll get on and they'll look at porn and they medicate that way. One of the ways I medicate, which is terrible, is through eating crap food. I have to control that. And so I've tried over the years to replace that with healthy ideas, with exercise and fitness. But we've got to support our mental health if we want to reach that bullseye of longevity and fitness. That brings us to the next ring of our target. We'll call it ring number 2, but it's the ring outside of the bullseye. Another ring outside the bullseye. And it's outside the ring we just discussed that contains metabolic syndrome, building muscle, increasing aerobic capacity, and supporting mental health. This next ring is the ring that involves or includes principles for success. If you don't implement these principles, then attacking that next ring is going to be a fruitless effort. If you do not establish these principles, and this is so important. It's what so many skip over when they're creating New Year's resolutions. They skip over the principles for success, these habits of success, and they jump right to what they want to accomplish. And if you haven't built a structure of habits for success, of principles for success, you're going to fail by the second week of February. And only 8% of you will continue into June. So we need to look at the principles for success, which is this next ring, these stabilizing factors. The first one is to create lasting habits. And that's where our focus is going to be really for the remainder of this episode. But we got to talk about other things that are within that ring. But the main one is creating lasting habits. What does that mean? Creating lasting habits. That means starting with small, manageable changes that are easy to implement, but very, very important. You got to focus on one habit at a time and gradually build over weeks and months. Man, I want to we're going to come back to that one. We're going to come back to creating lasting habits. We're going to move on to the next items that are the next stabilizing factors, the next principles for success that are in this ring. We're going to come back to creating lasting habits because this one is the main focus. Let's go to the next one, which is support and accountability. You need to surround yourself with supportive people, people who will hold you accountable and encourage you. This can be a workout partner. This can be your spouse, a family member, or even a fitness community online. How about the first responder fitness community? We have a Facebook page now. We have an Instagram page. We are on Spotify. We are on YouTube, and we are here to support you. We are here to cheer you on. We are here to kick you in the butt if you need a little bit of encouragement or a kick in the butt. We're here to help you be accountable. You need regular check-ins with others to track your progress and stay motivated. And part of that is you need to start detoxifying your social life. Now, that can be painful and it can be hard. But if you have toxic people in your inner circle, you need to either get rid of them or spend less time with them. And let me warn you that when you have decided to dedicate yourself to a lifetime of fitness, when you've decided to change your life, even some of your closest friends, unfortunately, will become toxic to you. You can mitigate this by talking to them first, okay? But here's why. I listen to a lot of fitness podcasts. I have enough experience, enough training, enough education that I can filter through the garbage, and I can sift the garbage from the good stuff. And I listen to a lot of different podcasts, and I've just recently been turned on to one that I really, really like, and it is the Mike Dolce podcast. Mike Dolce, he had a background in fighting. And in fact, he took it to a next level. I mean, he's perhaps the greatest, from what I can see, the greatest fitness coach in the history of the UFC. He has a background in powerlifting. We're like bosom buddies, I guess. We're like bros in that regard, because I have a background in fighting. I'm a 3-time world champion powerlifter. And so we both kind of have that background. He's gone on to become a nutrition coach and a fitness coach and all these things. I went on to be a police officer and a SWAT team leader, different careers. But either way, I was just recently listening to him, and I've only listened to him a little bit, but he was talking about this exact thing. And he was talking about how you need to detoxify your life from toxic people and people around you. People around you love to hang out with you, and they're like, hey, let's go have a beer. Let's go have some pizza. Let's go party together. And when you change your life, they won't like it because they're okay with you as long as you stay kind of like them. But he said, they don't want you to be the sexy one. And I just kind of laughed. I'm like, boy, that's right. They don't want you to be the sexy one. If you're the sexy one, they're going to like you less. They like you with your pot belly, and they like you with your fat butt, and they like you being a little bit heavier, because then it doesn't make them feel bad about themselves. And that's so true. That's true for everybody. It's true for every single person, every one of us to some extent. But we have to combat that. First of all, some people are just naturally encouraging. I have some friends in my inner circle who are just naturally encouraging. They sincerely want the best for you. My wife is like that. My wife loves when people succeed. And her entire family, like her brothers, her entire family, they're just so encouraging. They like to see people succeed. It's like they get joy out of watching other people have joy. I just love that about my in-laws and my family. There's other people that you deal with. I don't have a lot of these people in my life at all, but there's other people who kind of want to keep you back. They want to pull on your reins. You've got to stop that and mitigate that. And one of the ways you do that is you have a sit down with people. Your friends, your family, your wife, your spouse. I mean, sometimes it's your spouse who doesn't want you to change because they don't want to change with you, and it makes them feel bad. So you need to sit down with them and say, look, this is so important to me. I'm not healthy. I have high blood pressure. I'm obese. I have non-alcohol fatty liver disease. I have all these issues. And I want to get healthy, one, so I can live a long life and I can be around for you, my friend, my wife, my husband, my loved one, so I can live a long life with you. And I really need your support. So I'm going to work really hard at this. I'm going to work real hard, and I'm going to make this a lifestyle change. And I need your assistance. I need your encouragement. Kind of head off. Cut the head off the snake before the snake becomes a snake. Okay? Just take action there. But you need people around you to support, encourage you. So that's number 2. First one is create lasting habits, which we're coming back to. Support and accountability is the next one. And now we talk about tracking your progress. Using simple tracking methods to stay on top of your goals. It can include, obviously, an exercise tracker. It can include a sleep tracker that records your sleep, a journal to journal where you started and where you're going and how far you've come, journaling your exercise. You just need ways to track your progress. Before and after pictures are one of my favorite because you see yourself every day. And when you see yourself every day, you don't see the changes. So take a picture of yourself in January, in your underwear, from the front, from the side, from the back. And then take another picture of yourself in March and just enjoy how amazing you look in comparison. And then do it again in June. And then in September. Do it every couple of months and you will be shocked at the success. The scale can be a good measurer. You shouldn't rely on it. A fat measuring scale. Those are absolutely a body impedance scale. They're absolutely terribly inaccurate, but I use one. I use one just as a guide because I keep track and I watch, but I don't count on it being extremely accurate. But there's different ways to track your progress, and I encourage you to use multiple ways. Do not just rely on the scale because that will mess you up mentally, especially when you start building muscle. And losing fat, muscle's heavier. So it'll mess you up if that's all you rely on. But you need weekly check-ins with people. Look at your progress. Make adjustments if you're not getting where you need to be. Track your wins. Celebrate your wins. Maybe you take a before and after picture and 2 months down the road, you don't look any different, but you've got more energy. That is a win. That is a win right there. Maybe you've only lost 1 pound of fat. Guess what? That is a win. That is a victory. You need to celebrate your victories and your wins. Perhaps your blood pressure dropped just a little bit from extremely elevated to now just elevated. Rock on, keep going, champion. Celebrate your victories. The next one is and the fourth one in this ring, the fourth one is you need resilience. You're going to have setbacks. Setbacks are a normal part of the process. Maybe it's illness or stress or a tough week. Resilience is about bouncing back. This is something I have had to face throughout my life. I went from being really, honestly, one of the strongest drug-free people, I think, really in the world. You could have put me in the top 500 humans on the earth as far as strength, and that's pretty significant when you consider there's 7 billion people on the earth. When it came to natural powerlifting, I was strong, and I was never a world record holder. Don't get it twisted. I was a world champion, but never a world record holder. There's a difference. I went from that to fracturing my spine, to requiring 2 spine surgeries. And one of the particular issues I had caused damage to my spinal cord. Not just the nerves that come out of the facet bones, not just the nerves that that caused a lot of pain and some real legitimate damage, but to the spinal cord. And so to this day, I have numbness in both of my hands. It's always there. To this day, I have some body tremors, particularly in the morning. My body shakes as I stretch. It's spastic. I have a type of palsy now that is actually the result of one of the surgeries I had. It's the spinal cord issue, and I have a type of palsy. And it's weird. It's weird, and it's been so discouraging. I have to use machines for the most part in the gym, because when I'm pressing, one side is much stronger than the other side because of the palsy. When I am pulling, the other side is stronger than it's the opposite. And when I'm overhead pressing, it's opposite there again. And so I have this muscular imbalance, and it's not because of the muscle, it's because of the nerve damage. But I have fought through it. And while I am nowhere near as physically strong as I was at my peak, I am in better condition and more metabolically healthy than I have ever been, probably in my life. You have to build resilience. Focus on giving yourself compassion and realize that it's not the end. When you have a setback, it's not the end. If you get injured, focus on what you can focus on. Focus on your nutrition. Focus on walking. Do what you can physically. If you injure your left arm, don't stop working your right arm, and don't stop working your legs, and don't stop working your core. Unless, of course, the doctor says you can't strain, you can't stress, you can't do things like that. Focus on what you can focus on. You can always do something. If you slip and you go on a weekend bender and you drink 10,000 calories and you eat 3 pizzas by yourself, don't kick yourself and say, well, it's all over, I can't do anything now. No, you get back and you get going. You get back in the gym. You get back on your nutrition plan. Build resiliency. Know that setbacks will absolutely happen. Plan for it. Plan for it. So that is the next ring. Now, let's go back to creating lasting habits, which is in that ring as well. This is the most exciting part of this entire episode, and I hope you've stuck with this. I know we're going longer this time because it's so important. Creating lasting habits means starting with small, manageable changes that are easy to implement. We call this habit stacking. And I've already mentioned, you have already habit stacked. You have already stacked habits. You have already stacked the fact that you wake up and you don't exercise. You wake up and you have a sugary, highly processed breakfast full of tutti fruity, sugary cereal. If you eat anything. And then you head to work, and then there's a box of donuts at work, and you down a box of a maple bar because they're so yummy, or a bear claw, or whatever the crud they call these things. And then you have but before you got there, you stopped and you got yourself a super sugar extra cream mocha with highly processed sugars and fats and everything that isn't good for you. And you have built these habits. You have stacked habits of unhealthy eating, habits of not drinking enough water, habits of drinking alcohol every weekend. You have stacked habits of not going to the gym. You have stacked bad habits of staying up too late and not getting enough sleep, not focusing on your sleep hygiene. You have stacked habits over the years that have led you to where you are now. It is time to start stacking good habits. Good habits. And that brings me to this announcement for First Responder Fitness. Starting in January and continuing for the next year, we are going to focus on healthy in a year. We're going to focus on habit stacking, healthy habit stacking for the year. And each month, we are going to bring you an extra episode. In addition to the episodes that are published every Monday, we are going to bring you an extra episode with a habit that you are to implement that month. Now, if you start watching this in the middle of 2025, that is okay, because each one of these habits are small changes that you can implement immediately and start working on. You know, if you read anything about developing habits, how long it takes to create a habit, some people say, well, it takes 20 days of doing something consistently to develop a habit, or it takes 30 days to consistently develop a habit. It probably actually takes much, much longer than that, but we are going to focus on one small habit per month, starting in January, and we are going to start stacking healthy habits for you. And as you start to stack these healthy habits, your unhealthy habits that you have stacked for decades will start to fall away. This is how you set New Year's resolutions, and this is how you create success. You need easy, small habits that you can stack one on top of the other. So, with that being said, starting January 1st, here is your first habit to stack. You ready? Drum roll. You are going to start drinking more water. Not hard. Look, I got a water bottle right here. You can get a water bottle. I will post links in the description of this show where you can click and buy a water bottle, carry around with you. Not only is it trendy, but it will help you with this habit. Start drinking more water. How much water? At least half of your body weight in ounces each day. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you would drink a minimum of 100 ounces a day. Minimum. I prefer you drink much more than that. But you need to start drinking water, a lot of water every day. If you go pee and it's yellow, you are dehydrated. Do you understand that? I tell my athletes that I train, because I do train athletes, if you go pee and it's not clear, you're not drinking enough. Start drinking more water. So that's habit number 1. And habit number 2, in January, it's a little more difficult, but it's still easy. Start tracking everything you eat. Everything. Everything that you put in your mouth has a calorie, start tracking. This is so important because you need to know the beast you have to slay. Yes, we're going to get into, eventually, you're going to start stacking the habit of increasing your protein. You're going to start stacking the habit of eating whole foods instead of highly processed garbage. Single ingredient, whole, healthful, delicious foods. You're going to focus on that. But not yet. Not yet. Right now, the habit I want you to focus on in January, drink more water and start tracking everything you eat. Most of us mindlessly go to the fridge and make a meal and we eat it. And we have no idea how many calories we're consuming. We have no idea if we're getting enough protein, carbs, whatever we're getting. I mean, you'll make a peanut butter sandwich, 2 or 3 peanut butter sandwiches, and take them to work with you without having any idea how many calories are in a tablespoon of peanut butter. It'll blow your mind. Or maybe there's a bowl of nuts on the table and you take a handful of them and you eat them, and then you take another handful and eat them, and you have no idea that you just consumed 500-600 calories. You need to start tracking everything you eat. I recommend the Chronometer app. It can be downloaded on your phone for free. iPhone, Android, doesn't matter. The Chronometer. I'll see if I can link that in the show notes as well. The reason I like that one is because it has a scanner. You just push the button and you scan the barcode of whatever food you have, and it has most of the foods in there. It's amazing. So it's very convenient, very easy. Takes some time to get used to. MyFitnessPal, it's good too. I don't like it as much as Chronometer, but I've used MyFitnessPal. I've used it a lot. So if you like it, if you want to use it, use it. start using a tracker and track everything, okay? Start tracking the oil you put in the pan to cook your eggs, okay? If you put a little oil to cook hash browns, you need to measure the oil and track that. If you put creamer in your coffee, weigh it. Get a food scale. Get a food scale. I will put a link to a food scale in the show notes. Go to the show notes, click on it, order a food scale. Weigh out the milliliters of coffee creamer, because you know what? Most of you grab a cup of coffee and you dump that in there, and you've just put 4 servings of this coffee creamer in your coffee and you didn't even know it. A serving of coffee creamer is 15 milliliters. It's like a little driblet. You need to know what you're consuming. You need to know the beast. So for January, track your water, track everything you eat, or increase your water consumption, and track every single thing you eat. That is the first habit starting in 2025. I'm so excited for the life change that is going to come to you as you stack these healthy habits. I just want to remind you that as we go through this journey in 2025, share this video, rewatch this video, like this video, comment. I'm here to answer any questions you have. I have very smart people as a part of First Responder Fitness. We have a kinesiologist on staff with us. We have nutritionists. We have people who can answer your questions. We're not selling programs. We're just here to answer your questions. So if you have questions, ask. Share this, like it, subscribe to the channel, and follow us as we go through this journey together. Focus on the first step. Understand, change happens gradually. But I promise you, if you start in January, by the time we get to this point, the end of December of 2025, you will be a totally different person if you follow along with us. Don't get left behind. Follow along with us. You will be a totally different person. The time's going to pass anyway. I did an entire episode on capturing the time. Go back and listen to it. Get some motivation. Understand, the time is going to pass. January 2025 is going to pass to December 2025 just as fast as this year did. Join us in stacking helpful habits, in changing your life, in changing your metabolic health, in changing your mental health, and in focusing on longevity and fitness for the rest of your life. You can do it. I'm here with you. I'm cheering you on. We're going to do it together. I invite you to share your success. Join our Facebook page. Join the Instagram page. Share your successes. And until next time, thank you for joining us on this premiere. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. And as always, stay safe.